Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We talk everything animation here, including Infinity Train, which we'll be getting into right now. I'm Dylan Hysen, and today I'm joined by a bunch of people, which we'll introduce as they give their thoughts on the Infinity Train, not series finale, but whatever season finale that aired tonight on Cartoon Network, Night 5 of the Infinity Train event, which was, as disclosed at the end of the episode, not the end of the show. It will return in some capacity, so we've got the season finale of Season 1 of Infinity Train here, episodes 9 and 10, The Past Car and the Engine. And very excited to talk about how we were right, how we were wrong, etc. What we learned about the train and all of its inhabitants. Make sure you've seen these episodes. Obviously, big spoilers for all of Season 1 of Infinity Train. Check out overlyanimated.com. Search for us on iTunes or your favorite podcatcher. And our YouTube is youtube.com/overlyanimated. Okay. Give me the brief reactions to everything we saw. How are you feeling? Let's start with Michelle Anderer.
So part of me is very satisfied, right? We got Cat Redemption. Blink, it was important. It was not important for the reason I thought, but it was important. Wan was a huge deal for the train, and he was like basically the key. I did not see it coming that he was also the conductor, but that's really interesting, and it makes a lot of sense. I don't know if it's a hot take, but I'm not sure that this stuck the landing in terms of like the overall message, but we'll talk about it. Okay. So yeah. Okay. General thoughts.
Nice. Sarah Potter, what are your thoughts right now?
I just like to say that I called it in terms of the overall theme we're going for, because the ending arc for Tulip is exactly what I said it was in the last podcast. She had to understand, she got to leave, but the show, she was able to leave before the end of this story, but her arc on the show ended when she was able to reach out to the conductor, Amelia, and through her own problems, empathize with the conductor, this person that had hurt her. And I think that was really great, and I really loved that. And I'm interested to hear what Michelle has to say about it not landing.
Okay.
Oh boy.
We'll get there. Alex Bonilla, how are you feeling?
Is
that an emotion?
I think that's it, Dylan. I think we can move on.
Yeah. What the heck happened is my reaction. I feel like I got on a roller coaster that like at the very end it like took very hard turns without banking, and so now my head feels like it's been shaken. I feel weird that it did turn out that the train is basically just like, hey, learn to move past your family and move forward. But like, it seems to be a supernatural train that's teaching us a lesson, which makes me feel very strange, as Michelle is also echoing in the background. So
is that what she's doing? Okay.
Yeah.
April Collins, give us your thoughts.
I'm awestruck, and I don't know if it's like, a lot happened. And props to Sarah for calling this, because that was beautiful. So well done. Wow. I feel like I have more questions, and I'm glad we got answers. And I'm just really excited to talk about all of this. Also, I'm really glad that Atticus is back, because I was really concerned for Sloppy.
Yeah.
So, and you know what? I'm really glad that Tulip was able to bring it together and accept her current situation and open up to another person. So that's all well and good. Yeah, those are my initial thoughts.
Okay. And Sam Quattro, what are you thinking, Sam?
All right, I don't want to be like I'm disappointed, because I'm not. But, I was kind of expecting a little bit more in terms of, like, the lore and, like, the deepness of it. It's very interesting where we landed with what the train essentially is. We didn't get solid answers, but we'll discuss what the train means. But yeah, I was kind of like, it's interesting that it's not completely connected to Tulip, but I'm kind of disappointed that it wasn't, because, like, I want it to be just, like, Tulip's train. It's hers. Mm-hmm. Nobody else's. That's where I'm at. But, whatever. 1-1 is my son. The end. I'm the train.
You're the train. Oh, okay.
Oh,
yeah. You're the
spoilers.
exactly. Yeah, you're the train. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Sam was. Yeah. I don't know. I'm feeling pretty good about this ending. This is. There's a lot of answers. I think, and I'm like very happy about a few things, and then I'm a little questionable on a few others. But I'm not like super upset about anything. Like this is the ending that we outlined, which is we answer the tulip stuff and maybe the stuff in front of us, but not the ultimate train stuff because we're getting more episodes. And I think we talked about like that's the best scenario because we'll get to answer these bigger mysteries at a later point. But I also think like while they left the train, like how it got there and really specifically what it is, they did answer a lot of stuff about the train. Like, the train is constantly running across time, across the world. There's other passengers on board. We learned that if your number at 0, you get to go home. 1-1's the big things are like 1-1 is the true conductor, and we learn who the identity of the conductor that was in front of us. I think those were like really successful for me. I love anything with like flashback romance, like backstory things. Like, so I was eating up the Ulrich and Amelia stuff. Like,
I knew it.
it was so good.
I knew it.
I love that being like it's just like such an important part of the night, and that being like the foundation for the conductor it was wonderful. Very, very like up-esque. You get like a sequence of flashbacks about a romance that ends in one of them being alive and it's sad and stuff, and then they like subvert it, and Amelia was the one, it wasn't Ulrich. I think all that's wonderful. The things that I'm questionable about are not explaining the train, which I've accepted, and I think the big thing everyone's questioning is like I don't understand what the numbers mean even after the show ends. Like it's some form of like growth, and that's the biggest thing I'm questioning on, which I think echoes like everyone here. I guess I would have liked that explained more. Like, like why is her number so high, Amelia? Like it's she hasn't accepted anything, she hasn't moved on, she hasn't become a good person. I was waiting for the show to explain it to me a little bit more.
She spent her whole life running away from her problems.
No, she didn't. She only spent part of her adult life after her husband died running away from her problems.
It's a very like I was very worried about a metaphorical ending, and for the most part it wasn't. This is a literal train, literally for some reason running across space and time of Earth. But the thing that was metaphorical was the number. So that's that's going to be the part but I think like for the most part I would say my initial take is they pulled it off because it connects so much to Tulip's arc, and that was like the strongest part of the show. Like, so I think that's what they're going for, and I think we can, I don't know, we could talk about the number. I think that's the biggest question. But, I think Michelle is worried about this being like a morality thing I don't think it was that specifically, but I also don't think it was not that. Michelle?
I mean, it's we like just watched it, so it's hard to kind of parse out like a culmination of everything. But I did feel kind of mixed about it watching it, and I'm not sure if that's just because her whole kind of monologue with Amelia just felt like kind of painfully on the nose about her own situation in the divorce, or if like the bigger idea of like the fact that she needs to move past she needs to forgive her parents and have empathy for their side, like, is a fair thing for, again, the train to be doing to her right now. Like, I get the nice idea of like, you both sides to every story. And, part of growing up is realizing, it's not always about you, and other people suffered from the divorce, not just you. And it brings you closer as a family. But there's something kind of twisted and wrong with that too, just because of the whole Amelia's locked on this train forever because she can't accept her own reality. But again, why is the train the one that gets to make that decision?
But it isn't it isn't the one that gets to make the decision because Tulip didn't walk through the door when she got to 0. Like, I think the train has less to do with them leaving than I think they think it does, if that makes sense, because Tulip didn't leave the second she got a door, and the train didn't get mad at her for going on to keep staying on the train.
Yeah, but also, I mean, 1-1 wasn't in control at that point.
Yeah.
I think I like this analysis that we're starting to get to from Sarah. How about to start with the surface level reading is the train picks people up when they're running away from their life, is what I would say. That's the common thread between Tulip and Amelia.
Which is what April said. April hypothesized that it would like pick people up when they're in emotional turmoil, and that seems about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and which is a good call. I think specifically maybe they're like running away from accepting what's going on, and then their number counts down until they can accept their lives. That would be my surface level simple explanation. And then once they accept it, they can get off. So it's like a vehicle of nature to help people cope with their life.
The train isn't nature.
Why not?
It's like, okay, the
It's a
train is a
machine.
vehicle of therapy to help you.
So it is
with your
therapy.
life.
So I say nature because it's just a thing that exists and has always existed and just runs on its own, and like there's a system and people like it's not like it seems like it's just happening. Like that's the biggest thing. Nature just happens and it just continues, and it seems like this train is just a part of this universe that just happens and picks random people up and ejects them back out, and yeah, like it's not like there was a malicious actor on Tulip's train, but it's because she like coverted or whatever nature, like she took over it and she disrupted the natural process.
Well, I like the idea of it just like, like it's a form of nature in itself, helping people get past the roughness of trying to run away from their problems. But again, like you can't leave the train until you accept it. And that could take very different people different amounts of time. And that's like kind of concerning. Just because it worked out for Tulip doesn't mean it works out for everyone, clearly. It doesn't work out for Amelia.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, concerning in that it's not like great. Yeah, I mean, much like nature, our nature is not good. It's not bad either. It just exists, and it seems like
true.
So like this is just a thing that's just there, right? Like I feel like that's what it is, and I think like. I think what I like about this, at least what's unique, and I'm really liking it thinking about it, is that this is a metaphorical ending because the train represents coping or like moving on. And it's like a literal representation of that concept, but it's also tangible within the mythology of their world. Like they didn't take a route, like they didn't take that it was all a dream route and it's all like a literal metaphor. Like it is tangible in their world, but it's also a metaphor, which I think is a really interesting direction. But yeah, I mean, does anyone have a different read on? So Sarah, you brought up an interesting point of like, it's they can only get off when they're numbered, but like at the same time they can go in a different direction. Yeah.
The train is able to open paths for them. That's what it seems to be. That's what seems to be clear. But the train isn't like it isn't set in stone. Like it's not like this glorious, like this is morality, like this is what you should do. Because like I think we all agree that the Tulip shouldn't have gone through the door then because she saved Atticus. She helped people by staying longer. But the train at that point was like, hey, you're good now. You can leave. You can go home. Like you did it. You're a full person right now. But she went on and did something good still. I don't like that doesn't fit in my head of a train that's like forcing people to get better than sending them home. Like there's something more here. I just don't think we have enough pieces to figure it out.
So yeah, do you think there's more to the story with the train?
Yeah, I think there's more. I think the train is doing something a little bit more subtle or a little more nuanced than just like fixing people and then sending them home.
Alex.
The problem with that is that for most of the first half of this series, Tulip is, I want to go home. The train will not let her go home unless she completes certain emotional milestones. So there is something moralistic to it. I can agree with the potential interpretation that maybe there's something a little bit more complex going on than just accepting that life changes and you shouldn't run away from your problems. Maybe there's more to it than that. But I definitely think that there is a moral element to it and that you have to like meet this train's standards in order for it to provide the avenue for you to.
But what I'm saying is that I don't think the train is like perfectly moral. I'm saying that like the train clearly isn't perfectly moral because Tulip leaving the train when she gets to 0 is like clearly not the moral option in her eyes. because she sees it as like, why would I leave my friends behind? And I am inclined to agree with her.
Well, I guess moral might be the wrong word then if you're interpreting it in that way, because I feel like it's more that the train is focused on one specific part of your being.
Identity.
Like the part of like saving the friend in my eyes is separate from why Tulip was stuck on this train in the first place.
Yeah, no, totally.
So
yeah.
I mean, you could connect them with like, okay, well, it has to do with the empathy that she developed over the course of being on this train, and that's the reason why she stayed on to save Atticus. So you could connect it like that, but I don't think that that's strong enough a connection to be like, oh, the train is fine with it being there. I think it's just, okay, you finished the thing I wanted you to do. Here's the door if you want to leave.
Exactly. That's what I thought. It's like, as long as you complete it, it's not going to do anything else to you, but it's not going to help you before you do what it wants, essentially, to open the door.
Right. It's just a thing that's happening. So, like, I'm kind of stuck on this, the train is nature. So I want to talk about this more because, it's a natural process. I think it's like, so a philosophy I have that I think is true of life is that nature is not a good or bad thing. I think this is a logical fallacy a lot of people have in the world. It's a big like vegetarian talking point, but like nature itself is like some people think like you get ahead of you, the strongest survive, right? Like so that's yes, but that's not like a good thing. Like yes, that happens in nature, but nature is amoral. Humans have developed a sense of morality, and they can be above natural processes. We have free will. It's a very high level thing, but like, we can do things, we can make decisions, we can decide what's right or wrong. So the train itself, so like I would say the train itself is amoral. It's just a thing that's happening. It's like animals eating each other. It's not like saying it's good or bad. And then Tulip, but the passengers on the train to Tulip and Amelia have like gotten over nature by, I guess, once their numbers are hitting 0, and Amelia uses it for bad, I guess, in terms of like, although I really think Amelia didn't do that much wrong, looking back, honestly.
No!
But she did, she's like using it for selfish means. Tulip like doesn't leave the train. She like uses it to help her friends. That's good. She can take their own actions. But yeah, I don't know. Just this concept of the train is just like an amoral force. It's really just something that's happening. It's like, I think the counterpoint against that is it like picks you up to try to fix you. That is kind of what it seems like,
it's nurturing. It's not nature, it's nurture. Because like it's literally like trying to get
it's interesting because it kind of is, it's like making its judgments, but it's also just like a thing that's happening, right? Like it doesn't seem like there's any force behind it from what we can see.
I just think we can't decide whether it's nature or nurture, because I think that's actually a really interesting discussion, Dylan, until we know why. Because we still don't know what this storm is. We still don't know, like, how this train keeps running, because it seems like there's a reason it's doing this. Like, it seems like there's a reason beyond just, like, we're picking up broken people to fix them, because there's a lot of people.
How can that not be the reason? I mean, again, the Polar Express is such a good example. The Polar Express shows
There's
up
a lot of Polar
once
Express
a
here.
year. Only to take children to Santa who are worthy of Santa. One purpose, does it every year for one reason. Why can't this train just be the train that picks up people running away from their problems with the intent purpose of making them face their realities, basically?
Because every other part of the train has had an explicit purpose, has had a purpose within, like, an internal logic to it. And I'm in my head, this doesn't fit the internal logic of, like, why? Like, someone had to either have made the train to do this, or the train is doing this for a reason in of itself. That's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't make sense that this train just appeared out of nowhere and just started doing this. Like, did whoever made 1-1 or 1-1 itself, like, why did 1-1 start doing this? Why did 1-1 start helping people? Because that's, I think we haven't really touched on that. 1-1's the conductor. 1-1 controls all this. Like, is 1-1 the one deciding who gets help?
Yeah, not 111 is the one.
Sorry.
Not really sorry.
The whole self is one.
She gets called 111 once at the end in this last episode, right? But so I love the questions you're asking, Sarah. I wanted those questions answered.
Yeah.
But I would say the season was not interested in answering.
No,
it wasn't. And I think it's for the betterment of like Tulip's story. But now I really want this to be answered.
And I also want that answered, and I really want the later seasons to explore this. But in terms of like analyzing this season, I think that for our purposes, the train has no higher purpose that we're aware of.
I think that.
Yeah. So like it's early. I mean, like, if it did, like, would that affect, you know, the what we learn from this season or what the season is saying? I think that's going to be interesting. Like, how do you
Yeah,
feel
like,
about
I
this?
mean, it would, but we don't know if that's even going to happen. Like, we don't know what's going to happen in the next iteration of this. So I think, like, we should only look at this at face value because these 10 episodes are all we have, and that's what we should base our critique on.
I agree with that for now. Yeah,
but I also think that if this didn't say that this was coming back, I think this is a very different finale in terms of whether I like it or not. Because knowing that there's more stuff after this in terms of this show, like, I'm no longer worried about them not explaining it. But because I know there's more, like, I'm okay.
It just gives you that sense of like, we'll get to it. Yeah, you know, these questions will be answered. We can focus on the stuff we're focusing on for now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like this type of ending. I think, like I said, more than like a kind of purely metaphorical ending, maybe an over the garden wall type ending. I think I prefer like it's more tangible. Like the world, it does have this infinity train. We don't really know what's going on at a super high level with it, but it exists, and it's like affected Tulip's life, and it probably took her away from her parents for like several months, which you didn't, I guess, talk that much about at the end, but that's what it seems like, and it affected Amelia's life tangibly. So I'm happy with definitely this aspect of the ending, and I think it's kind of having its cake and eating it too. It's like it's not delegitimizing everything that happened previously in the show by making it all a dream or something, but it's also still getting the benefits of that by having this metaphorical ending that thematically is tying into Tulip's arc so much. I guess that's my read of the intent of it right now, and I kind of really like that.
Yeah, I like it too.
Yeah. What? Okay. So I don't know. There's not too much to say about the high level train because it answered. I mean, we could talk more about the numbers. Like, does anyone have a different read on what they represent in terms of other than like moving towards closure or moving on? I mean,
not really.
It seems to be it.
Yeah, but like that seemed to be like how it fell into place. I guess is just that as soon as you like. You come to terms with whatever is taking place in your life, then your number reaches zero, or finding, I guess, accepting some type of normalcy with your situation. But and again, that would also like explain why Amelia's number is so high because she's so far away from like what it is that the train has her working on, like because she's like literally fighting it. So
I feel like the episode said something about the number.
It said that all it really said is that it can go up and down.
Yeah.
I think the cat said something at some point.
Oh,
I don't know, but yeah, we will talk about the cat, but it's why you're still on the train. The number, or no, that's not okay, but that's before. But okay, we'll go through that line, then we can parse things more. How about reactions to 1-1 being 1-1 being the true conductor of the train, and 1-1's mom being the train itself? I guess, right, is the intent here?
And 1-1's mom was a hole in like a donut. Like he was 1-1 their mom was actually a hole.
1-1 was the donut, which was in the donut hole.
Oh my god.
1-1 was the donut hole. I love it.
Also, I think I also called it that 1-1 was shaped like the orbs that they were taking out of the train.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the true orb.
And the one we saw on the wall.
Yeah.
The true orb that's controlling things. Yeah, he is a munchkin samurai. Yeah, it's the little
Yeah,
donut. Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
That's the true message of this show, right? Sam, how do you feel about 1-1 being so important to the train at the end?
Well, we kind of called it.
Yeah.
No, like I don't remember who. I'm sorry, guys, but somebody said a couple of days ago, "What if 1-1 is the real conductor?" I was like, "Oh yeah." So, like, it wasn't too much of a surprise, but I like it because he's my baby, and I'm glad that like he's in charge and can just do things for people. In terms of how it works narratively. I mean, you've seen this kind of thing before. It's definitely a trope that I don't know. Not to say that tropes are bad, obviously, but it's like, oh, yeah, the thing that's been following us for, like, 5 weeks is actually super important to the plot.
It's a typical choice.
Who would have thought? So, like, it was alright. It wasn't it kind of like goes on the pile of things I was not super impressed with the finale.
Okay.
You know,
in a miniseries, I don't think you can really have the space for any of these things to not be important. Like, I just don't think they have the runtime to be like, hey, here's just some fun side characters. Like, every character here has either a purpose to Tulip or the plot moving forward.
okay.
Yeah. Anyway, did anyone really like the 1-1 twist?
I mean, I'm honestly kind of confused why he's the conductor, because, like, what do his two personalities have to do with being a good conductor? He's either really happy or really sad.
But when they're together, it balances out.
So he's neutral? Okay.
It kind of reminded me of Inside Out, where, like, there was this meeting of happiness and sadness, and that was important. But I didn't, nothing.
Okay.
The feeling of what is happening never really coalesced in my brain, and it feels like we're not supposed to know really until later.
Yeah, maybe we'll find out more later.
We had the shy kid and like the lady who's a bit more brash. I initially thought, oh, is this like how 1-1 got started? Like,
that would have been
two different personalities, like turned into robots. So
That's also what I thought.
That would have been fun.
I thought one of them was going to be the train itself or something. Like that.
I thought so too.
Right?
I was like waiting for it.
Ulrich is the train. Wow.
Dylan, I would have been so happy if like one of these people turned into a train or got built into a train, or like Amelia built a train because Ulrich died. Like,
yeah.
Oh,
I thought she had like built like that thing to be like her fake husband, but she was just riding around inside it the whole time, and I that really kind of like broke my immersion.
But what was up with the steward though? Then
I don't know. It's relaxing.
She's the ultimate warrior. She's got a mech suit.
I hate
She's got a robot sidekick.
Okay, so
she's got everything.
So I think the steward is naturally a part of the train. It's supposed to be 1-1 steward.
It's so creepy though.
But so
Maybe
that's
it's
just part.
Supposed to be creepy.
Yeah,
I mean, it has a lot of arms. That's pretty creepy.
And then eye guns, which I still don't understand.
That's not.
Why does it need the guns? It's true. Did she outfit the steward to make it more violent? But the train naturally had cannons on it. So the train itself, there are hints of like what the train meant. The train had like these cannons in the front. So the train is not maybe as neutral as it seems, maybe, or it's like ready to enforce its neutrality or something like. Whoever made this or whatever mythical being, or I don't know.
After we saw that the cannon that we used to change Atticus from a dog into like a cockroach thing, like my understanding of the cannons was that like it was maybe like using the cannons to make tracks or something, like it was bringing something into the world so it could keep moving, and maybe that's how it like moves to Earth, like it spawns like a portal to Earth, goes through with the cannons, and then goes back.
Yeah. Talking about that could be really interesting. I mean, all these questions, these are like, I'm like, that's interesting, but I have no, we have no idea. True, right? Yeah.
Well, I don't think we're really supposed to know,
Yeah.
like,
Not yet.
considering the fact that, like, it will return at some point. So, like, all of this stuff that's, like, unanswered, I'm like, okay, well, I guess it doesn't matter right now.
Yeah.
We'll
see.
But it does feel important. Like, nothing here feels like it's just like tossed aside. It feels like it's just like it wasn't important to Tulip's story, but it is important.
Yeah.
I like that there's like little things that are like, this might be important about the larger train story. By the way, Infinity Train will return without giving it any sort of time. Is such a Cartoon Network move. So that's great.
Yeah.
Like, is it next year? I don't know. Maybe.
Well, it'll be like 4 years from now. It'll just randomly
we're leaving the throw. We didn't even get the Rick and Morty. This is coming back probably in a year and a half or later. Like, this is. I don't know what you prefer. This or
It
that.
will return in 3 weeks.
It'll return in
They
like
could,
5 years when Tulip's like dad dies or something, so she has to get over that.
Well, so speaking of this,
Oh my
gosh.
But now she knows exactly what to do to appease the train.
Yeah,
so
she's figured out the train's secrets. I think Tulip won't be in the next season.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I think 1-1 and Atticus could be in because they're still on the train and the cat, but I think Tulip's not going to be in the season.
I agree,
The
Dylan.
cat will be the main character.
No, but I think it'll be about a different person on the train. But we still have a way to have Tulip's like influence felt because we have the sliver. It's the perfect thing. We can come back.
Tulip's sliver's still there too, and Amelia's still there. I would love if the next season focused on Amelia. That would be I don't think it's gonna happen. I think she could be like a mentor figure or something to the new main character.
I think all these characters we've seen could show up. Like, I'm especially excited.
Basically everyone could show up in the next season except Tulip because she's off the train.
But I'm okay with that. Tulip's done. But I would love to see more of the Sliver. I'd love to see more of Amelia. Like, it's just incredible. Like,
What
I
if
love
next
that.
season was just about Tulip Sliver? Like, that would
Dude, that would be incredible.
That would be
be
incredible.
wonderful.
Yeah. I really hope. I mean, I assume it's not happening, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm really excited about next season. But back to this. So the 1-1 twist. I agree that like the two halves of 1-1, and he was supposed to be one. He split into two, but he's still two when he's strapped into the control panel. I agree that's not explained. So that is a little bit unsatisfying. What is, I think, very satisfying is the stuff that happened in episode 6 about Tulip like going through the change and him being like this being of order. I think that makes a ton of sense with this ending because he's like running. Like, I think it also supports this idea that the train is just a force. Like he's just running the train. He's trying to fix it, keep it moving. Like it's just a thing that's going and 1-1's in charge of it. I think that, like that orderly side of 1-1, really fits into the whole of the train and the story. And yeah, there you go. I really like what we did with 1-1. I was like, yeah, we have to answer what's up with 1-1. I am satisfied with the most part for that. I would have liked the two sides thing to make more sense here, but if that's a question we're gonna continue into next season, then I think that's okay too.
It's okay also if it's never answered. I mean, it was very fun having those two personalities the whole time, and even if it doesn't make total sense, I don't think it needs to.
Yeah, I guess it's not the biggest deal in the
story.
world.
Yeah,
and I like that he retains at least a little bit the two personalities.
Yeah,
that's good. He doesn't assimilate and lose his identity. That would be bad.
Yeah.
Let's talk the conductor. The conductor's that big question we answered. The backstory with Amelia and Ulrich. It is Ulrich. I'm just like, Code Lyoko. I'm just like.
Oh no, I thought that
Oh
immediately too.
That's only Ulrich. Definitely named after Code Lyoko.
All right.
Book that. And Amelia, kind of close to Aelita. I don't know.
Oh my
Just-
god!
oh my God.
No.
It's like a Code
No.
Lyoko crack
Move
shit.
past this, please.
Okay.
Get to your
So
point.
I have no idea what you guys are talking
Yeah,
about.
I don't
It's not aired on
either.
Cartoon Network. It's
No.
relevant.
I'm not a weeb.
Remember,
It's a French show.
Whoa, are you calling me out?
It's fake anime, okay? It's
fake anime. Oh,
a French
boy.
show. Yeah, made Thomas, who creates Ladybug, worked on it. Okay, so gotta reference Ladybug here. So Ulrich and Amelia, the backstory with them is we get the mechanism. I also don't understand how the tapes work. That was not explained. But I guess I don't know. Maybe that makes
Train
sense.
magic.
Magic.
They seem to serve the purpose of helping people cope, I guess, by seeing what's making them happy. And I don't know.
Or it traps them there
No,
forever because
I-
they're not ready and they starve to death and die in the train.
There's a lot of things here that it doesn't
Owen,
make-
I think on the AMA said there's cars with food on them. They just didn't show them on the show.
Yeah, I wonder that.
Sure.
No,
But
cooking ever.
But
Oh no!
how do they have access to the food if they're not supposed to leave their car? So that
So
does.
Why did
yeah.
Will-
So
if she could
well, okay. Here's
Suppose
what
with a crystal car, she'd never get any food. That's so true.
here's what's interesting. You're not supposed to leave your car stuff came from Amelia, but she's not the real conductor. What is the real purpose of the train? Amelia co-opted the true purpose of the train for her own purposes. So
She was still being a conductor. She just wasn't doing as good a job as the last person.
I mean, I think maybe the train wants you to walk. I would say the train probably does want you to go throughout cars. It has doors and it connects to each other.
there
I
are
think
puzzles. to get
and there's
through.
puzzles to solve. Yeah, I think that's what the show is saying is Amelia wants you to stay in place so she can like work on her own thing, I guess, and try to resurrect Ulrich.
And it fits her trauma because she wants the world to stop while she tries to
Mm.
figure out what's going on. She wants everyone to sit still while she tries to make her perfect little car, and then when she's done, then the world can reset. Then people can start going about their business. But until then, she needs to figure out her stuff.
I love that explanation. Yeah. But the train itself, I don't think wants that, which is so. People can go to the food car freely.
Apparently.
Is that what's it called on the real train? I also wonder where's the
Like
sleeper
legit
car? Where's
Italy
the
or something.
No,
Legit Italy.
that's true. Legit Italy had pasta. That's
Pasta.
confirmed. So I'll book.
Yeah, with Nancy.
Yeah. Can we focus on Nancy next season? How
Oh,
about
that'd be
Our
that?
girl, that'd be fun.
What if we bring Tuca and Birdie back, except it like merges with Infinity Train for season 2, and we just focus
Crossing
on
the
Nancy?
beams.
Actually,
So you don't want this to be a kid show anymore. Got it.
For the record, in an interview, Owen did kind of call this a kid show. It's a little tongue in cheek, but he called it a kid show. So I think that's interesting.
Really, I don't know. They were trying to kill each other with tire
It's
iron.
clearly much darker, than normal.
Yeah, it's a lot darker.
But I do think ultimately it has like that Cartoon Network kids-ish perspective. But it's like all the shows are like all over.
But
the
this
place,
is
I
not
guess.
like kid show is like just such a loaded.
It's about a kid. It's about coping with parents getting divorced. It has that perspective.
there's no
It's
bad
a kids show in the same way
words.
Avatar is a kids show.
You know,
but I mean,
exactly.
Right. And Avatar is a
Yeah.
kid show. So
It
yeah,
doesn't
it is.
mean like the main target's a 6-year-old. I mean, the main target's actually more like teens and early adults, but it's still it has more in common with the rest of cartoons lineup than say Adult Swim, for
Yeah.
example.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, the memories with Ulrich and Amelia, basically I don't know. They're not much to, but they fall in love and they graduate and they and then it seems like Amelia dies, but actually it's Ulrich who died, and she's like running away, and then this train comes and. I don't know. I think all that was really incredible sequence. The twist of you thinking it's Ulrich, but it's Amelia. I like it. It was effective in terms of tricking you. I'm a little unsure what the purpose was too much of the twist, but it's certainly effective.
Just because
playing
the
with
lady always
expectation.
dies for the guy.
Right. So it
that
certainly
was
plays
why
with
it was a
expectation.
twist.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's why it's a
Yeah.
twist. But what's the purpose? What's it for? But it was effective.
That's why it's there, just to be like surprised you thought, but actually it's a lady.
Yeah. I
It's
think-
crazy.
I think probably narratively you're not supposed to just have surprises for the sake of it, but I don't know. I think there's surprises in that it's I think the effect is it like narrows you into Amelia like very quickly. It's like, oh, it's her, and here's what she went through, and it's like puts you right into her frame of mind, I guess. And
It did for me, so.
yeah, I think so. And also I was like, is his name really Ulrich? I think I heard that right, but Amelia, I was like very clear that was her name. So I was like, let's go with that one. I know her name at least.
Yeah.
It's more important.
Her name's easier.
Yeah.
It's more common, I guess, here. But then she's inside. We like at some point the robot thing comes off and she's inside, and then she gets ejected from it. I was like, did she merge with the robot? Like, did she like turn into a robot?
No,
Very late
she's
to-
just sitting
Upload her
inside it.
content.
She just made it a mech.
Silly.
Yeah,
So silly.
Dude,
well,
how I want to know how she made this mech. It's incredible. Like she built this.
they were engineers. Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's how
That
she's built
explains
everything.
everything.
The shades of last season of Ruby with the old lady inside a gym mech.
Oh my god! Do not. Don't
This
you
was
dare.
better. This one was better.
Not you dare.
All the
Stop that,
parallels.
Dylan.
here. Yeah, don't bring it. Yeah. And I don't know. I like that she was inside the mech. I like that there's a real person there. It made it more tangible. Like this is
I guess, but also like to me, it felt like Scooby Doo-ish of like pulling the
It
mask
was a
off.
little
It's like,
Scooby-Doo-ish, yeah.
look, you thought it was like an actual robot, but it's just a person all along.
Had
Yeah.
to be a person all along because that's what Tulip's thing was about. Tulip had to connect with people. If
Yeah,
it was
yeah, for them,
person,
but-
it would-
What do you? But she was connecting with Atticus and Wan
But
Wan,
that's
and they're
not
not
a
people.
person.
but that's not like people. Like those are characters. Those are her friends. But this is someone that she disagrees with. This was her reaching out to someone she disagrees with or someone that she feels hurt by. And that's the whole point of Tulip's arc. Being
But
able
it's
to
also-
go ahead.
I was gonna say it's also she's reaching out to someone who's like maybe not going through the exact same situation, but is still like suffering a loss or going through again like the emotional turmoil kind of situation, and so like Atticus wasn't going through any type of emotional turmoil, and Wan Wan was just trying to find his mom.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
This just acts as like a really nice like mirror to the Chrome car, where in the Chrome car, Tulip like could offer this solution to the person in pain. This was Tulip realizing that she couldn't always have a solution. Like she just had to be like, I'm here for you, but I can't help you right now. And I think that was like the last lesson for her. Like it's an inverse of that, where
That's interesting.
she
Yeah,
like
definitely at least her like connecting with a person extremely similar to that. And then I agree that's like a lot of what her arc's been about. And Yeah, I like it. I like it being a tangible person. You know, it doesn't need to be she was inside the thing. So literally, I don't know. I agree. It felt a little. There's a lot of things, but there's a lot of things that feel a little silly for lack of. You know, there's a lot of silly things in this show. So I think it's appropriate to have a little bit of that.
Plus, I think I liked that she was like. I like her being in the mech suit, kind of, sort of being the villain of the story versus like her just being a person, because. I don't know, like, it felt more right to me, and I don't know if I would have enjoyed it as much if it had just been, like, a person in a cloak the entire time. Like, it sort of added
what was
to,
the point of the blanket?
The blanket was because her husband
It reminded her of her
blanket.
husband.
So she had to wear the blanket to remind herself of him and also use his voice changer, which was a little weird.
Oh, yeah, she...
The thing is, like, she could have built the robot to be her fake husband, but instead she climbed inside it, so she was both, like, herself and the fake husband as the conductor, and that's what gets, like, a little convoluted and silly to me.
She climbed inside memories of her husband to comfort her.
But Michelle, she was trying to create a world that had her and her husband in it. Like that's
a big part of her. She was trying to create a world which would bring Ulrich back, I guess.
But it would bring him back, like, result in him being like a separate entity from her?
I think you're right, Michelle, but I think Amelia is so far gone that she doesn't get that.
Yeah. It's like that Black Mirror episode.
Far gone, like, the wrong word. You're right, Dylan. But you get what I'm saying. Like, she's so lost in her, like,
at this point she doesn't care. Yeah, like she just wants some part of
she
him.
Can't disassociate from like the memory of her husband, so it like manifests physically around her. Like I can understand that.
I think it's a great motivation, and ultimately, I feel like Amelia really didn't do anything wrong. Amelia did nothing wrong. Hashtag.
That's why I'm so mad at the train. Like, the train put so many numbers on her. It's like, oh, you're gonna build a robot that's 200 more numbers. Oh, you're gonna like build a fake car for yourself. That's 5,000 more numbers.
More numbers.
But can we go back for a second? You just said that she did nothing wrong. She tried to kill a dog and a cat. Like.
And a human.
The underlying reason, she's just like trying to do her own thing, and the train's like so mad at her. It's like, oh, you're never getting out of here now. And that's the part of the train I don't like.
Okay, so
choose that.
I think that's like a reasonable way to view this, and I think that's like a good critique. But I think like the what the show is presenting is like it's not that the train was like mad at her. It's just that she was moving further away from the thing that naturally the train like lets the number go to zero. It's like it's not like a judging thing. It's more of just this is the
can't be neutral because it is declaring a line in the sand for a right response and a wrong response. That implies a morality like either way.
Yeah,
it cannot be neutral if it gives you consequences.
I think nature in our world has consequences, but it is kind of neutral.
But morality is different depending on which like philosophy you follow. And I agree with you, Michelle. Like it has it has a line in the sand, but you don't know which rules it's using. You don't know what rules of morality the train is using because it's using some rules.
Well, I like that. I like that it's not too specific because then it really would be that it has a specific position. So I guess in that regard, it's good that they didn't enumerate completely what the numbers mean because then it is like then it really fully would be like the train is judging you and like but at least like it's like here is a thing that you know like it has its own set of whatever that guide it to.
So isn't that still just judging, but just by a more vague thing that we don't understand? But it's still judging.
Yeah, it doesn't make it good.
So I think judging is relative to how we're viewing this. It is just.
But it's
happening.
The act of judging that is an issue, not what it's judging.
I definitely kind of agree that like I don't know why the number system is naturally happening based off of like something that to us seems like a moral judgment. But it's not like the train is evaluating it kind of is because
it is evaluating.
It's evaluating you with literal numbers.
It's literally
it's not like thinking about it, right? Like it's like I think evaluation means thinking.
But okay, Dylan, it might not be. Dylan, it might not be thinking, but let's say like it has a program. It has a program, and what you do in action, it goes through that program like a
Right,
tree,
that's
and it's like, is it good, is it bad? Is it good, is it bad?
Yeah.
And there's some rules to that tree of deciding whether you lose or gain numbers. And that logic tree was either made by someone who did evaluate these actions, or the train is making these logic trees as people make actions. And either way, it's evaluating things that people are doing. And it's
I agree. From our perspective, it looks like it's evaluating. I'm not convinced the train is like made by someone. That would be.
But I this is what I.
Yeah, and I also just like don't want to not place the blame in the hands of the train, because the train's the one in charge of making these decisions. So like, yeah,
it doesn't seem like the train really is making decisions. I would certainly argue that. Like, I think if the train was created at some point, decisions were made. But as functioning now, it seems like Amelia took it off course from like just happening, and now, and she's like making decisions. But
it doesn't make one decision. It decides
Amelia is separate from the train. The train has been trying to help Tulip get off it by giving her the number clues the whole time. All Amelia's been doing is trying to keep her in one place to keep her out of the way. She is purposely trying to stop Tulip from doing the thing the train wants her to do. So I think that's a pretty important distinction to make here.
Yes, I mean, so the numbers are different from Amelia, right? So it's just a matter of how you're viewing this. Like, is the train like trying to help by moving the numbers, or are the numbers just moving? Like, I mean, they're the same thing, but I guess it depends on how you view it. Like, I don't see like specific intent on the part of the train, but I mean, I guess like without knowing how it works, like there has to be that somewhere. I would say like the intent was made when it was like created. By whatever, or in the inception, and it's just running automatically now. But that is still like intent. Yeah. I do think we've identified probably the thematically weakest part of the ending, which is why is the train having anything that the viewer associates with like morality? Like why is it picking Tulip up and making her go on this journey, and like all that does feel weird having finished the show.
And if I may add, the reason that this is important is because, as has been mentioned multiple times, this season is ostensibly focused towards Tulip's character arc of her doing this journey of coming to terms with the changes in her life. And if she was able to do that all on her own, which I think that the show is trying to portray. If she's able to do that all on her own, then it's something to be praised, something that feels like cathartic, that she's able to get to a point in her life where she's able to do that. But if you see the factor of the train being the one nudging her into doing this and saying, this is the right thing to do, you have to move past this in order to continue your life, it depending on how much emphasis you give that part of the story will affect how much you feel that Tulip got here on her own. And I think that that's a big piece of how effective this season is, because a big part of it is Tulip, right? Tulip coming to terms with it. And it depends on like how much credit you're giving to Tulip and how much you're kind of stuck on, well, but the train made her do it. So how am I supposed to work with that?
I don't think the train made anyone do anything. I'm just saying that you have to improve yourself in such a way that only fits the train's ideas.
And my interpretation would be that's the train making you do it. So I think
exactly.
It's difference in
okay.
Because to me, Sarah, it's like, so the train appears when it senses that you're running away from something in your life, and it's like, all right, come here, person. And then you get on the train and you go through cars, and some of the cars have puzzles that are specifically there to make you think about something or come to a small realization that inevitably leads you to this ultimate conclusion of how to confront that problem in your life and move forward. But the problem is you can't leave the train unless you get there. And that's the thing I don't like, because that means you are still beholden to the train. And you can't really make a lot of choices. You can make either right choices or wrong choices according to what the train's there to quote unquote help you do. And like, I do see that moment at the end where Tulip like doesn't immediately leave, as like maybe the writer's thinking like, oh, see, she's taking it back into her own hands. Now the train's not just telling her to go, she's choosing not to for this good reason. It's a good reason. But the rest of the journey up to that point, like, still kind of has this problem, I would say. And that's like kind of what I'm getting a little stuck on in terms of like how satisfied am I with this conclusion, especially for something as like heavy as like divorce and Tulip having to reach a place of forgiving her parents and just accepting it and being able to go on with life happier, like on a level that all makes sense. And like, yeah, that is a great thing, but it's also like, that's such a complicated thing. And I feel like the divorce didn't happen that long ago. And that just adds to the whole, like the train having her there and her not being able to leave until she like literally gets through it as feeling a little icky to me, honestly.
I think the issue with the train, and it has a similar problem. And I really liked everything you said, Michelle, and I think I agree with everything you said. Go for it. But I think the issue with this is if we dig into this, it has a similar problem to a lot of other stories, a lot of other, like the first example that pops into mind. I know there are better examples, but this is one that popped into my mind. Is that if you think about like Harry Potter, like if you think too hard about the early stories, the early books, like Dumbledore is just doing everything. Like Dumbledore pushed everybody to do everything here.
That's a good point.
So, but we don't like Dumbledore. Dumbledore, like, but no, we
like Dumbledore.
Dumbledore's awful.
Okay, Michelle, you're Dumbledore. People, we're supposed to like Dumbledore. Come on.
Michelle, this has nothing to do with what my point was. Please.
Okay, no, go for it.
My point is that because of that, because Dumbledore's doing everything, are the choices Harry and company making, are they important? Do they matter if it's just Dumbledore pushing them to do stuff? Like, I think this is like a circular thing we go down where like you have to decide what causality is and what agency is. And I don't know if we're at a place to make that decision. And I agree that at the moment it looks to me that the train is forcing Tulip to do something. I agree with you. But I also think that this is still a journey that Tulip genuinely had. And I think that her reaching these conclusions on her own, essentially, were really cathartic and good to watch. Like the Chrome car is still the Chrome car, whether the train forced her to do that or not. And like, I think that she didn't do what the train told her to do. Like she just did what she wanted. And it happened to be just really what we saw, which was great. But at the same time, I don't want to put everything on the train car because we can just keep going down this rabbit hole.
So,
sorry.
Yeah. So let's to kind of summarize the argument, and I'll take my position. I think that I think what Michelle's saying is completely like valid and like a way that a lot of people are going to interpret this, and I think that that's like unfortunate. Like it's like, so all of us kind of agree that the train, making it that the train like is, you know, we had this whole argument whether it's passing judgment or not, but for simplicity, like the train passing judgment about when you get off the train is icky. So like, but to me, what really matters is Tulip's journey and her actions on her own on the train. And so I think it like almost doesn't, to me, it doesn't matter much that when you hit 0, you leave the train. It's like all about like Tulip, like accepting things on her own. And it's like, I think it's going to be whether you buy that the train did that for her or not, which was what this whole discussion was about. I think the show like made every attempt to, whether it's successful or not, your mileage may vary. I think the show made like every attempt to say that this was Tulip's actions mattering on her own volition every step of the way, and I like really bought it. I really love that part of the show. Tulip is like constantly like grappling with whether she should care about this mythology that's going on inside the train. She puts the glove on her hand at the beginning. She's like rushing through. She super cares about it. Then she doesn't care about it at all. Then she like puts the glove on. She's like, I don't care. And then she like comes to peace with it. And it's like, it's whatever. The fact that like it hits 0 when she gets off the train, that's like almost independent from the fact that she got to 0. Like she got to 0. Yes, the train was a vehicle, as we talked about. Like the train is train's just a vehicle for what Tulip went through on her own emotional journey. I think the show is so focused on that journey. I want to give it every credit for like her going through all these things on her own. And the train is just a vehicle for that journey. And yes, when she accomplishes that journey, she gets off the train, but it doesn't matter. She accomplished that journey. She did it on her own. I really think it's like totally her. I agree. A lot of fantasy stories have this kind of question/problem of like, how much agency do the main characters have? I feel like Tulip had way more agency than I almost ever see from these types of stories, considering the like higher forces around her. And I love how much the show gave her that. I think her saving her friends at the end and not getting off the train was another example of that. I think the show was like aware of this from it, the way it was constructed, and really tried to get you to the point where you think that Tulip did this on her own.
I agree with everything you said, Dylan, and I think that you help me understand why I'm okay with this, because I think that there is a lack of agency in how she gets on and off the train. But between those 2 points, I think she has complete agency.
Yes.
She is in control of what she's doing. There is an argument that like she starts acting in ways to make the train let her off, but I don't think Tulip ever does that because she doesn't know what the number does, because she doesn't know. It's like it to make reference to another show, like The Good Place, like you don't know where you're going until you die. You don't know whether you're going to the good place or the bad place in that show until you die. And Tulip doesn't know what the number means until she gets it to 0. And so she can't know that she's doing the right thing for the train or not. But then in that case, why do they have a number at all? Like it feels like the number. I think there's still things we need to understand about this show, but I do think that the agency of Tulip is clear, and I really like her, and I think she was in complete control of the change she had in her life during the show.
I mean, I think the changes she had in her life is totally under her control, but I also just like you can't get off the train unless you reach that. You know, that's the thing that just really bugs me. Plus, like, I don't know. I mean, I think like if this had been like a different problem she was also dealing with, because again, like the whole like she has to come around to her parents and see their side, like that also feels like a separate weird thing. But like in terms of like Tulip's characterization and being able to like do all these things, not knowing how the train wanted her to act, I think says a lot for her own agency while she's on the train. So like I totally agree with all that.
I think
April, where do you stand on this?
I was gonna say, like, I think that, like, I love that, you know, Tulip was able to come to, you know, I guess, like, her opening her door to get off the train on her own. But I wonder if, like, something that we're missing from that is because, Sarah brought up The Good Place. And so, like, at the beginning of The Good Place, there's always, like, the architect or whoever is there to sort of, like, greet and welcome you into, like, the good place, saying, like, hey, this is where you are. Well, at least that's how it is in the show. And spoilers for, I don't care. Anyway, but so I wonder, because the other thing we have to consider, too, is that Tulip is getting on a train that is not operating under its normal circumstances. And so I wonder if, like, normally when people get on the train, like, the conductor, you know, comes and says, hey, like, we understand you're under a lot of, like, whatever. You're doing this, like, you know, you're here to, like, figure it out, figure out your place in that. And then as soon as you come to that, then you can get off the train. Like
maybe that's why 1-1 was in the car.
Yeah, is that why 1-1 was there? Yeah.
In the first place, maybe something happened with Amelia that caused him to forget.
But Amelia like wipes his memory, but he still follows his programming and goes to Sky. I love that idea, April.
Like that's kind of like, I feel like that's what we're missing from this whole like number situation, and like that would also explain too, because like we all feel, or, you know, it's been expressed that, like, we feel icky about the whole point or the number thing, but that it's because I don't think it's been fully explained. And I think that it wasn't also fully explained to Tulip, and therefore wasn't it fully explained to us. Like, I think that, like, if we had that piece, or if that piece existed, then, like, I feel like I would be, like, way better, like, I would feel way better about it. Like, and so in my realm of acceptance, I'm like, okay, I'm just imagining that, or, you know, until I'm proven wrong, that you know, this isn't the normal circumstance, and so like in a better situation, like Tulip would have gotten that explanation versus like not knowing what the number means. And then, like, you know, again, like if you don't know what something means, like it's hard to care about it. You're going to catastrophe. I can't think of the word. I can't say the word right now. Like, you're going to, like, think the worst of them. Like, you're going to go from, like, one end to the other. Like, you're going to care so much that you think that, like, your life depends on it. And then you're going to come to a point where you're like, I don't care about this number. Like, it doesn't mean anything to me, when it really should have. But I think that that's just the missing element, is someone there to say, hey, this is what it was. So
yeah, I think that's a great...
I like that, but question, April, if that person was there, so if you hypothetically heard them tell you exactly what to expect, and then you said to them, okay, cool, I want to leave, I don't actually want to do that, can I just get off the train now and go home? Would they let you? That's the question I have.
No, maybe. So, like,
yeah,
I
they
think...
might. Like, we don't know. They could.
First of all, right now I'm imagining 1-1 as Ted Danson, right? Like, that's
of course.
Oh my god, little bow tie.
That's like 1-1. Greetings, you're dead. Like, yeah, like that he rolls up to. I guess he's not supposed to leave his hole, so I don't know how he communicates. Maybe he like comes in, maybe like a TV screen.
The steward.
Yeah, maybe the steward. Greetings, yeah, like.
And then if you try to just leave immediately, it shoots you with its gun.
Oh, rip. So I think if the explanation is just here's the point system, then I think it maybe plays into the like Michelle's fears, and that like it's almost better if you don't know, because it's like, oh, here's the rules I have to follow in order to gain acceptance. But I also think it's a great point that like Tulip enters the train in abnormal circumstances. That's what we learn. Maybe normally, yeah, the person could just let you off. It's like, here's an option. Here's a therapy train. You can go on this if you want to, or you could just get off. Like maybe the conductor says a lot more things to you that like would be a completely different circumstance than Tulip. I think that's totally valid. I also think that's like very true. Like we're going to see maybe next season the train's normal operating procedure, and it could be very different.
I don't know. Amelia's still on the train, so will it be
will she be a foil?
Or will she rip one off the hole again?
Yeah, she could. Yeah, that's true. Tulip left. What's stopping her from just doing it again?
Maybe Atticus is the only thing stopping her.
That's true.
Time.
Atticus is gonna bite her. Yeah. Okay. But she's learned she's learned to try to cope now, probably, and she'll wander off and then in like episode 5 next season, we'll like encounter her like living in some hut, and like that's how it's gonna go, right?
I like that.
Yeah.
Like her actually like working on her situation versus like trying to destroy.
Yeah, I think like vaguely trying to work on like accepting, but also like her resigning herself to her fate since her number got so high. It's like I'm like trying to build a life here. So I feel like that's what. It's like, how could she ever lower number enough? But yeah, I think maybe there's context that would help the number system to come. Either way, I feel very, very like, at least personally, I really connected to the journey Tulip went on and the agency she had throughout. And I think like, at the very least, I totally see like the writing process and how they attempted to address this every step of the way this season, and I like see the reason for all these things now with Tulip caring about like her view of the train, and it makes it work really well for me. We can come back to this too. I don't know, Sam, do you have any takes on anything with the numbers or how you're feeling about that?
I have no feelings.
Okay. Is that the key to get off the train? Is to not care? I don't know.
I don't know. Robot.
Like, right? Like, did Tulip do better when she stopped caring about it? But I don't know. Here's the part we haven't talked about in terms of the reveals we get. The beam that we thought was like killing you and bringing you up to the sky actually brings you back to the normal world. And I think
maybe it really does kill you because Earth is not very good.
Wow, what if Earth
Earth
is death itself? But what if Tulip's in like a simulation now that the train brought her to?
What if the Infinity Train is the best possible scenario for living?
It's kind of great. Isn't that better than life? Like you don't have to work. Like you can just encounter infinite. We're not slaves to capitalism.
We're back to this is purgatory.
Isn't it better? I think Tulip should have just stayed on there. I don't know.
I would have. I love you guys, but I would like.
Sam, which car would you have gone to if you stayed in the Infinity Train?
Well, you can go to any car. So
I feel like the Italy car, that's a strong contender, right?
But I mean, if you have one like controlling the cars, like to be like, hey, find the best car, like do it right.
Yeah, would one be helpful to you?
I like the pencil car where they have like
the pencil bank car,
and then they write with a pen. I like that.
It's a bank though. Why is it a bank? Okay,
why not?
I believe one of our patron Michaels called this on Discord the fact that you're not actually dying, you're going home from that beam. So that was good. Yeah, I think that's
no one died.
It's just a positive like resolution.
In such a dark show, that was like like the complete subversion of the I guess the cockroach dogs still like are a thing, but it's
they're kind of
that's
screwed
real.
over.
But
why were they outside?
Why are they sucking people's life force?
They got off the train.
Also, what is the outside, right? Like we still
it's
don't really
hell,
know what that is.
Obviously.
Purgatory.
Okay, I'm just very glad we didn't do the It's Purgatory ending. Okay, I'm very happy. We kind of don't. It seems like the outside is its kind of own realm, like the internal train running thing. Like maybe it picks you up on Earth, then goes back to run infinitely somewhere else. But yeah, those are questions still to be answered. But we addressed the cloud sucking thing, and so in the beginning we saw someone going home, and we saw other passengers on the train too on the screen that the conductor had. So there's other people, and I guess you can see their number too on that. So I thought that was like very satisfying too, seeing that there's a bunch of other people there.
You're not alone when you're dealing with harsh times. That's sometimes the biggest lesson.
Clearly,
they?
Are they isolated? Yeah, clearly, therapy train does not believe in group therapy. Like they're not all together.
No.
That's true. But also, like, I feel like the train is a lot larger than it's supposed to be.
No, you don't think it's supposed to be infinite?
Well, so Amelia is building cars.
Yes. Yeah, because Amelia was like constantly building cars, trying to get what she wanted.
Right.
So I feel like
is one building cars? We don't really know if one on his own would build.
Well,
cars.
the cat implied that he is.
Yeah.
What did she say?
I think he does, but like he doesn't build them like excessively.
It's at the very least, it's like she's building at a more frequent rate. I agree with that. Yeah. Also, I like the Infinity Train had a start and finish car. Like that, it had a thing. So
a caboose.
It had a caboose. Not really infinite, is it? Like it has a thing. Maybe the other side is infinite. I don't know.
Yeah, because the cap said like it never stops building. Like it's never done.
Right. So infinite doesn't mean it has literal infinite cars, but mean that it's infinitely increasing.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that would make sense. Like,
I guess.
Well,
yeah, that's not what we thought it was.
Like infinity in terms of like it's always going to be present. Like there will always,
or it's always
be
moving
cars.
and it's always there. Yeah.
Yeah, like and it's always, maybe like some of the cars will stay the same, but maybe like they'll like switch around and stuff. Because what is it like? They were able to sort of like maneuver the car that they were in towards the front of it, and so I feel like this car needs repair, or this one's been retired. Like, let's redo it. Like, do it again. Send it back out there kind of situation. So,
I think something that we haven't really touched on, like, that I really find interesting based on, like, what we're talking about right now is that, like, the storm is part of the train. Like, it's and, like, there's these infinite cars, or, like, not infinite cars, apparently. But this storm is part of it, too, because that's how they get on and off, apparently. Like, that's the thing that gives them the door to Earth and back to the train.
Or at the very least, like, the light... Is the light tube the storm, or is it separate from the...
It seems like it connected to the storm when it took that first person in episode 1.
Yeah. And
maybe it's like a wormhole situation.
Yeah. At the very least, it's, like, part of the location where the train is.
Yeah. But it physically is connected to the train in some way, which means it's part of the train. Like, by
or,
that
like, it's capable... The train is capable of interfacing with it.
Yeah. And either way, I think it implies that is part of this system. It's part of what's going on.
Yeah, it's at least part of the system that the train is built, or whether it's created or not. I totally think it's like a wormhole, and the train was like built to interface with the wormhole in space or something. Yeah. I don't know. But I don't. I also just like kind of reject like such specific like ideas of like how it's created and how it works and stuff. This finale is like very far away from that into like causative. Ideas of the train's origins. Like, we're really not interested in that in here. One thing is so that we talked about the cockroaches and the gun, which was the cannon from the train, and how it turns you into a cockroach, and then Tulip's like firing it and it's turning other things into like corgi things. And this is one part it didn't really come together in my head fully what's going on yet. I want to rewatch, but I don't know what's going on with the cannon. Does anyone have an explanation?
I talked about that earlier, Dylan. I think it's like making rails or something. Like it can change things into other things. So maybe it's using it to make a path it can take.
Yeah, what does it change it into? Like,
I think it's just like it's on the cockroach Dementor setting, but you can change that.
It's a setting wheel
to something else.
Okay.
Yeah,
well, like,
that's what I was confused about. Yeah, where's
but it's
the
also
wheel?
I think it's what's making the train tracks it's riding on. I'm saying.
Yeah, that seems possible. Yeah, the idea that it was part of the original train is interesting, at least.
Yeah.
I want to go back and rewatch it. It was a key part of the fight at some point, so I would like it to have a more concrete like logic to it, but I don't know. I really like that. Really, this finale tries to coalesce everything from the series. We have the donut hole maker. Tulip has the piper, and she has a sword fight with Amelia with pipes. Like, I thought that was so cool. All these kind of concepts, I think, are. I guess we didn't bring back like the multi-tool or something. But we
had the multi-tool with when we were like redoing the ball car.
Okay, that was there too.
Yeah, because she was using it to like cut wires and like put them together and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, like,
in the beginning of the first episode.
No. When she remember they used the arm of the steward to
open the train car.
Okay, it was there. Nice. Yeah. There's a lot here, so sorry if I'm not keeping track.
A lot happened.
A lot started, Dylan.
Like I still am not like I'm still waiting to see like a screenshot of like all the other people on the train because like it went by so fast, but there were like at least 10 other people on the train.
I want to see.
They all had much higher numbers than Tulip too. I was like, dang, Tulip must be way smarter than the average train child.
Or I think it just has
they were like adults. I feel like too. Amelia got.
Yeah, Amelia was there as an adult.
But I think it more had to do with like the level of trauma they were dealing with because Tulip was dealing with her parents divorcing, but Amelia was dealing with her spouse dying. Like those are different levels in my head of like
that is true.
Yeah, they're not the same.
Yeah.
But that's part of why I don't like that. So like Tulip was gone for a real amount of time, and if you're getting over your dead spouse and you really don't want to deal with that, and the train locks you away for like 40 years, it's 40 years of your life gone. I don't think that's fair.
I think I also disagree with that because my understanding of the train, like it obviously is not stated, but the parents aren't freaking out. So my understanding is that she just gets teleported back at the moment she left.
The problem,
I think we skipped to 7 months later, by the way.
Yeah,
we don't know.
Yeah, so Owen on the AMA today on Reddit said that time passes normally on the train, same as real life.
Oh, so
she was gone for months.
Wait, so we just glossed over her parents, like...
Yup.
Yeah!
We did. It seems like we missed a scene of, like, wanted missing posters for Tulip. Yeah, right. But the 7 months makes sense if she was on the train for a few months. But, yeah, we missed the part where it was stated that was a literal amount of time. I guess that's not too relevant to the story they're trying to tell, whether she gets transported back at that exact moment or a few months later.
It's not as important, but it still feels a little weird that, like, we don't talk about it.
It would be nice to know that. It would be nice to know that,
Yeah.
Yeah, so how about that ending where she's 7 months later and her dad is actually picking up her up for camp? And,
I mean, that's nice of her dad to follow through.
I don't like this because I don't think it has anything to do with Tulip's change in character. Like this, she is definitely happier.
She says, I'm ready for anything.
No, that's the thing. The reward she gets for doing all the train stuff is her family's happy because she came around to them. And that's part of what bothers me. Like, a divorce involves several people. Why does Tulip have to be the one to just, like, be fine with everything and be the one to, like, fix her family dynamic? It's more complicated than that. But the ending isn't complicated. It's just, like, everyone's happy and fine now that Tulip's calmed down and accepted reality.
I definitely see that point, Michelle. But, like, what I'm upset with is that we don't get Tulip's side of this. Like, we don't get her talking to them. We don't see how her getting better, like, affected this happiness. Like, maybe there was a conversation that clearly outlines why Tulip or how Tulip made this better. But as all we see is that Tulip shows back up and suddenly the life is better, which doesn't really make sense with just Tulip going through with this. I'm not saying, like, it's bad. I'm just saying, like, it feels like this was just, we didn't have enough here in the epilogue. Like, we needed a little bit more to see what exactly happened when she went back. I don't think
it was certainly very short. I think that this is not about, like, we see Tulip's perspective on this. Tulip's parents were having their own Infinity Train arc at the same time as Tulip was, and they were, but
they weren't stuck on a train. They gotta go to the grocery store and buy cookies when they wanted sometimes. Like, Tulip can't do that. She's just
how do you know they weren't on their own? And aren't we all, Michelle? Aren't we all on our own?
Oh my God!
Infinity
No,
okay,
no,
no, we're not.
We all have choices. We have agency.
Yeah, we have agency. That's totally different from the
Do
train.
we?
We have some amount of agency.
I
Yeah,
have
not
the
a lot.
illusion of free will. Let us
We
have
have
it.
the illu- yeah, we have
Tulip
the
wasn't
illusion,
allowed to
yeah.
have it.
She made her own illusion of free will on the train. Doesn't the train ultimately represent capitalism that's binding?
Oh my
us?
god! Oh my god! We're done.
Train is basically like a dressed up prison. It locks you away to
It's a
have like
communist
nice
That's
Utopia.
what capitalism
But it's
is,
a
right?
prison.
God, isn't real life just like that anyway?
Right? I'm telling you, yeah.
Real life is a much bigger prison train. That's a tiny prison
Oh my
train in
God.
It's about
It's
the
an
comparison.
scope, that's
infinite
it.
train,
That's
Michelle.
all.
I don't think it's tiny.
So then why did she have to go on that prison train if life's already a prison train then?
I don't know. Ask Owen that.
Okay, so here's
It's not here.
You missed the AMA. It was earlier. My view of the ending is that it's not like this is about like acceptance of and change in life, and it's not like everything's fixed because Tulip like learned to accept things. Everything's fixed because it's like later, like things will eventually right themselves. It's about getting past these disruptances in life. Like it's not like everything was instantly better. This took a lot of time, and now at least her dad can pick her up from camp. It's not like everything's solved, but like they're better because time has passed and Tulip has gotten through this hard part in her life. That's how I view this.
I think that's what they want us to feel for sure, but I feel like
That's how I felt.
that ending isn't like how I felt. It's just like
It was certainly very short, and you don't have a lot of time.
That's
to
weird.
get into
Yeah.
it.
The problem is that we didn't have this we didn't have this 3-beat where we had this first like scene where she was at the chrome tulip or the sliver, and then we had a scene with her with Amelia, and we needed that same scene with her talking to either her mom or her dad, where she's like understanding what they're going through, but she's voicing her own concerns as well. Like it didn't feel like the parents conceded Tulip's feelings back in a conversation. Like it's clear that the parents love Tulip, but Tulip didn't get to have that conversation with them, like about it. Like Tulip didn't get to hear that from them in a conversation. I think that's important.
I would have also liked to have seen a scene between Tulip and the parents. I understand why we didn't do it. It's a short show, and that would have been a lot of time in the finale to spend back on Earth.
But like the whole
Alluded
catalyst
to it.
Yeah, because like she argued with her mom, and that's what set her off on the journey to begin with. So she didn't even get to talk to her mom at the end as like a nice frame closure.
And also, it was because of a mistake from her dad that this happened. Like they both metaphysically sent her.
Right. I think I would say it's not about the mom and the dad. It's about Tulip and her having coped with this time in her life. Who even cares about the mom and the dad? Right? It's
But
all
the
about
mom and the
Tulip.
dad
the way that
changed.
it's conveyed, it just seems like, oh, Tulip went on this like amazing journey to find this like set of acceptance, but then at the end they're showing like, oh look, her parents finally figured out how to get along with each other.
Yes,
like it's almost
exactly.
kind of, and that's like the problem, like I guess maybe that I had with it is because like it's not, I wouldn't say like, it's almost like, I don't know, I want to use the word discredit, but I feel like that's not right. But it's almost like they're discrediting like the last 10 episodes that we watched and like this huge like transformation that we got out of Tulip's character, you know, and then in the end, like, oh look, her parents figured out how to get along while still getting divorced. Like, how great for them. Like, I think that the ending would have been way more effective if like we would have had her like going back home and then just a scene of like her like even just alluding that they're going to have a conversation. Like her parents are worried about her and her saying like, okay, let's talk or something. And then we can do the 7 months later, Tulip, your dad's here. Okay. Yeah. And then like that could have ended it. Like it was like the time allotted, you could have like formatted it differently or used it differently.
I think that's a really good point because I think my kind of issue with the divorce angle of this is that like I love like Dylan and Sarah's perspective of like this is about Tulip's growth and Tulip learning things and she has autonomy on the train and she doesn't leave when it wants her to and that's all great. But then all of that kind of gets boiled down to she's forgiving her parents, now they're happy. They can move on together, hooray. And that feels a little simplistic and a little disingenuous to it being about Tulip. Because if like if it's not like about her growth, it's more about like, oh, she has to not be selfish about the divorce and they're hurt too when they're not happy and she should realize that. I mean, that just like feels a little weird for how we're ending on it. Because I think it should be more about Tulip than about her parents. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I personally, I mean, I think that's like everything's valid. It's a quick ending. I think these criticisms are valid. I personally saw it all about Tulip. I feel like I got it, and not got it. That sounds like it was right, but I feel like the way it hit me was that like Tulip has got past this. It's later, and it gets better. Like life will right itself and get better. You'll move on from grief. You'll move on from what you're going through. The point of showing them, like the dad there, like it's like things can get back to normal. Things can move on even with this disruption in life. Tulip can be happy again. Like it's like showing like she's happy, she's accepted, she's gotten through it, and she's happy. Like it's the happiness is the key, not that like everything sticks with the divorce. At least that's how I saw it. Yeah, I mean, I on one hand, I feel like I could have used a conversation with the parents. On the other hand, I feel like this small scene communicated everything I said, at least to me, without disrupting the powerfulness of the previous stuff that we got on the train, which I feel like is or like not taking away from it or not losing the momentum from it in the ending. I think that's probably the intent there of doing it in a short way. Also, it's an 11-minute show, which, why didn't they make the show 22 minutes? Is it just because it's on Cartoon Network, but it's like a script driven show 11 minutes? That's very weird. It's interesting.
They could have extended out the finale episode too. Like,
because pacing wasn't an issue in this miniseries.
No,
like,
never.
It fit very well. Like a lot of those episodes felt like it began and ended really well. So like timing for most of these episodes was not an issue. But finale, maybe it's different. But but I don't think switching to 22 minutes would have been the answer.
I think it made such good use of the 11 minutes. I think even in the finale too. But I think like if you want to say like the ending should have been a little longer, I agree. But you also could have done that in 11 minutes too. You could have, it's not like we needed a ton more, right, from the ending.
Yeah.
I was fine with what we got, but I also see the other side on that. What else we got here? I mean, we had a lot of the cat here, Michelle, and
we did get cat redemption. That was wonderful. We got cats that are good, dogs that are good. Like that, I'm pretty happy about that aspect.
Shocked we got cat redemption.
I'm kind of shocked too, but I will take it. Like, please give it to me. Validate cats.
The show is like, Michelle, I know you're pissed at other parts of the show, but here's the cat redemption, okay?
I can always forgive that. Thank you for giving. And I love that we got the name of the cat. It's the cat. That's the cat's name. That's
I love
awesome.
it.
Yeah.
Also, I want to compliment the usage of Atticus in this show, because like when you get him in the pilot, it's like, okay, well, he's gonna be like a side character, that's fine. But like somehow he ends up being the emotional part, kind of a Tulip's emotional linchpin, along with one. But like he's a very close connection to Tulip throughout, and it feels very triumphant when he's able to be transformed back, and it feels very sad when he's turned into a cockroach. So Atticus, and also like while he's just being Atticus, like he gets funny lines in pretty much every episode that he's able to be Atticus. So like I really appreciate Atticus's usage in this show, and like the way that Sam connected to 1-1, I connected to Atticus in this miniseries. So like he's really sweet, and I am glad that he got a bigger part than I was anticipating in the show.
Atticus comes back. He makes his triumphant return, and he's helping and fighting, and yeah. This was, considering Atticus was just like this Dog King kind of joke concept in the pilot. Yeah, it's like I think he had such a strong arc for the show here, and 1-1 had such a strong arc, and most of all, Tulip had such a strong arc. That's like a lot. This show accomplished a ton in 10 episodes, like character wise, plot wise. Like it didn't do high level stuff we thought it was going to do, but like it instead focused in on these characters in front of us, and we even got like a pretty in-depth arc with Amelia these 2 episodes too. I don't know, there's so many aspects here I'm impressed with. Anything else we didn't, we haven't done some specifics here, but I think we hit on most things from the finale. So I don't know, Michelle, anything else or any closing thoughts on the finale of Infinity Train?
I want to have more conversations with Sarah about it. I want to be convinced that this was all great and perfect and they did everything right and I can sleep happily not feeling like a jerk. But as of now, like I feel like they got like 85% of the way there to like a perfect ending, but they missed that last 15%. But having said that, like I think like a lot of the lead up to this was really good. I feel like it's just like that very last episode that I was kind of like, what is happening? What does this mean? Uh-oh. But everything, like 9 episodes out of 10 were so good and connected so well and got me so invested in all these characters. Like, I read Alex, like, I'm not a huge dog person, but like, I was so feeling Atticus. I was very upset when he changed. I was very like relieved when he came back. I'm like, it's not like we've known him for like 6 months with like an episode a week. We've known him for like 5 days. So that's like a true testament to the character building in the show. So I think like so much applause for the team for working on this. Like, is their first season? Maybe next season's gonna like just like blow us away even more. So like there might be a little room of improvement for me, but I think like they did a stellar job and they should be super proud of themselves regardless.
Yeah, I don't think you're a jerk at all or anything for not liking certain things. That's valid and allowed.
I don't feel bad though. Like, I like so much about this, and I don't want anyone who made.
But also, like, I also don't think me, who loves like large parts of this, also saying it's perfect either. Like you said, 85%. I would say like 95%. I love. So like that's pretty close to where we're at with this. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. I don't know. Like, I feel like are people going to have issues and place blame on the finale like you did? Whereas I'm probably going to rank the finale very highly among these episodes. I think that's going to be interesting. But yeah, it's a lot of times with shows, it's hard to like differentiate the ending from like any problems you had with the overall thing. I agree. Like that can be hard. Alex, how about you with anything else? Closing thoughts, overall thoughts on Finny Train?
Okay, so first two thoughts. Two thoughts.
You can tell they're first, serious.
Wake up, Alex.
First of all, what if this is all a sick joke? Ulrich faked his death. He built this train to force Amelia into finding herself because she was emotionally distraught, and Ulrich is the true creator of the train.
Alex, that would be so cruel.
Exactly, it would be.
Oh my
it would
God.
be a very dark ending.
Why
to
would you
miniseries.
suggest this?
Because he is a missing link. He's a dangling Chad in this tapestry, and we must figure out what his purpose is. And his purpose is to be the puppeteer of all of this moralistic nonsense.
What is a dangling Chad?
Whatever. Anyways,
hanging Chad.
No, it's a thing. You look it up on Google. Anyways, and my second thought: this show is like when I take a ride on the train from Philly to Stamford, where I used to live. The destinations themselves are not, they're ones I'm familiar with, but the ride is always interesting because the train goes by very gorgeous places that you wouldn't normally see when you're driving along the highway. The speed is much faster than you would go on in the car, so it gets like a different rhythm, and it feels very comfortable because you're in a nice seat. You're not really worried about the stresses of like dealing with traffic and stuff. So like being on a train ride is very fantastic, even though like once you get to the end, you're like, and at the beginning, you're like, oh, okay, well, I'm all ready to get on the train. That's kind of how Infinity Train was, you guys. Like the ride was really great, and I enjoyed the show a lot. The ending maybe had some issues, but like whenever you ride a train, you got to get to the end, and you know that you got to take it however it comes. As long as you. Well, Amelia is on a very long train ride. This show.
Okay. So you're just saying her train ride's not over.
Yeah. She'll reach the Californian coast someday. Maybe ride into the Pacific Ocean. But her ride will end as all our rides end. Maybe with a plump. But enjoy the journey, man. And this was a really awesome journey.
Thank you for your extended train metaphor about the train show. That's a good way to close this out.
Also, I think it's a good point, though. Like, the journey of theorizing and getting the episodes in chunks was, like, literally the funnest part about the show.
Which I think is the point of the show, too. Like, I think that's what they're going for. Yeah. Okay. Sarah, anything else or closing thoughts on Infinity Train?
I mean, I had them, and then Alex did that.
You're distracted by the train metaphor?
Yeah, it was
Chad.
I took your breath away.
You could. That's a word. I guess I just really can't. It's like a day later, and I still can't get over the Chrome car. I really love that episode. It was so good. I'm just so glad that it did have the importance to the overall plot that it did, because I just think this is such a good this show, not just that episode, but this show is just such a good representation of how empathy works. Because I think shows kind of media sometimes shows empathy as just being nice to other people, but this kind of goes the step further and goes like, this is what it actually means, and the way it works, the way we learn it, the way we show it to other people. And I kind of find that incredible. It's not just Tulip being nice to people, it's showing how she connects to other people so that she can be nice to other people. And I don't know, it's really beautiful. Some of the things we do in these episodes, especially in the finale, in the Chrome car and in the Crystal car. It's just, I don't know. I just really like it a lot.
Yeah. Nice. April, closing thoughts.
All aboard!
Dan, okay.
No, I think this was like a very solid first season. Like I really, really enjoyed this show, and like I think I said yesterday, and it continues today. Like I'm very excited to rewatch this, kind of get a little bit more time to process before you ask me questions and put me on the spot, and I feel silly giving answers. But
you're a podcast, like you agreed to do this.
April, you're doing great. Don't
You're doing
even
great,
worry.
April. You are.
Thank you. I didn't need that. I really wasn't fishing for a compliment, but
You still got him.
Thank you. No, I really enjoy. Like Tulip was such an amazing character, and like at no point did I like have regrets about watching this show. Like immediately, I was like engrossed in it, and I was like, I need all of this show. And luckily, Cartoon Network, fulfilled that promise and gave me the entire season in a week. So. Thanks, guys. Also, just a little bit disappointed we never actually got to hear the Crazy Train song.
Yeah, Tulip didn't sing Crazy Train.
Right.
Yeah.
The show was done before the promo was even a thing. They didn't know about it.
How do we know the promo wasn't based on the ending of the show?
They could have
It could have been.
easily included it.
I would have loved 1-1 to sing it. That would have been incredible.
I'm gonna give all this feedback to the writer whose idea that was. It's gonna make his day, but he's also gonna be very confused. Everyone liked it that much.
It was great. It was great.
What if Ozzy Osbourne created this train?
Oh my god!
Maybe
I think he did.
foresaw the show. That's true.
I'm
Can we
pretty
do
sure
this
he
before
created it.
Alex falls asleep?
I don't know if sleep. I don't know if it's tiredness or just. What's the symptom of? It's getting off the train. You're disoriented when you step off the train. Yeah.
It's
Like-
like the end
like
of series hangover.
The train,
Tulip needs an adjustment period here. I mean, come on.
we're all on a train, and the train that Alex is on is judging him right now for his actions.
Well, much like you all thinking the train is judging them, right? Yeah. Okay, Sam, closing thoughts on Infinity Train. Were there any foods in this episode to do a hot take on cold foods? I think there's onions at the end, too, again.
Oh, yeah.
Onions are fine, but I would not eat one like an apple.
I think most people agree.
Yeah.
A few things. Happy birthday to Ashley Johnson, who is the voice
Yeah.
actor.
Yeah.
I don't know how old she is, but it's her birthday. The train really is a good amalgamation. That's not a word.
Yeah, it is.
A good composite of the world, and how everything kind of sucks, and you have to make the best of what you have, despite being stuck with no meaning and no promise of things getting better. You just gotta have to stick with the people in your life that you've chosen to go on this journey with. And that's really what the true Infinity Train is.
Wow.
It was the friends we made
Oh,
along the way.
Yeah, bring it home.
no.
Yes.
Love
Thank you, Sam.
Sam.
Thank you. Wow. That was a
Yes.
great speech.
I love 1-1.
Yay.
Yeah. I feel like 1-1. I feel like 1-1's one of the standouts here. One of
When,
the
like, I know that we don't like capitalism, but like, if Quattro did make a plushie of him, I've said that.
Obviously, we'd buy it. Yeah, come on.
I would buy it for
Come
myself
on,
and not share it.
Plushie. Does the
for
plushie
you, just
like
for
come
you.
apart, or does it stay in one piece?
Oh
Right, like
man, it should come up.
Maybe it's like a
That'd
little
be a lot more
bento box.
expensive,
So you
though.
like twist it to open it and put food inside.
Yeah.
Or it's an onion
That's not a plushie,
cover.
then.
You know they have those plastic onion covers.
Onion cover. That's not merch you're
Yeah, they get
making.
one onion cover.
No.
$1 million idea.
Okay. You do
What,
that.
Michelle? You pitched that to.
Yeah, you could. You're in the position. You're actually in the position.
Yeah,
here,
you're
okay?
closer
Hey,
to
guys,
this
guess
than-
what? I got
Yeah,
it.
you're the one. You're the one we should be talking to about the plushie. I mean, come on, come on, Michelle, make
Make a plushie.
a plushie.
Don't give us a plushie.
personally.
I have to find some felt first. I'll
Give us a
try.
plushie that when you squeeze it, it sings "Crazy Train."
Yes,
Not
please.
at
It
stores.
needs a
I'm
voice box.
sorry.
Yeah. Okay, it's happening.
Make one say onions have layers.
But we definitely DreamWorks. You guys, you're asking for very expensive copyright requests.
You know what? They bought like the licensing to what was it? Word Up by Cameo. They can
We can do
afford.
this, yeah.
And
Crazy
Crazy
Train,
Train by Ozzy
Yeah.
Osbourne.
Yeah, I mean, Cartoon Network's with this new Warner Media stuff. Like, they have the money, right? They're making this new platform. They have the money
Yeah.
for this.
I
Yeah,
don't think so.
at a high level. So somewhere, the money's somewhere. You give it to
The
them.
money is somewhere.
Apportion your whole budget for
Go
one
to the
plushes. Come
highest
on.
executive in the land and demand half
Yeah.
his salary for these plushies.
I
mean,
mean,
yeah,
you
I
know
mean-
what? That is
Yeah, I
really
mean-
redistributing the wealth. So
in the form of one plus.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
trade is capitalism, like we were
I
talking
think so.
about.
I mean, I really think the train is capitalism. I think we're on to
Yeah,
something.
this discussion, Dylan.
But in terms of Ashley Johnson, I was rewatching Cartoon Network marathons before, and I just particularly noticed how great she was in the Chrome car because she's just talking to herself at several points in that scene.
Yeah.
They're playing two characters on completely different things.
she
and I
has
feel like both were really
BAFTA
effective.
awards.
Wow.
It reminded
Wow.
me, Dylan, of Young Justice with Superboy talking to Superman, but like
No, stop!
Oh my
Don't!
god.
Don't! That podcast isn't even out yet, so we can't talk about it, but it's not. It's still.
It's like Rick talking to Morty.
Yeah, that's well.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay.
Okay, let's-
Yeah. I definitely. It seems like I'm definitely higher on this finale than I thought. It was a really, really great finale. I also have some reservations, but I think they stuck the landing for me. I think this whole show was like so good, like start to finish. I mean, I was rewatching it before. I want to rewatch it again with the context of the ending. Especially now that I watch the ending, see if there's more than what we're seeing and stuff. And I don't know. I think this is like I like it so much. I think this is like instantly a top tier show. Like
And this
right
is
there with
season
like
one.
Steven Universe BoJack. Like I think like this is my favorite show of the year so far. Number one. I absolutely love it. Love so many episodes of this. You know, I maybe I want to take a step back soon, see the whole thing, see the ending, but I just love this experience of watching it. Love the show itself. Love talking about it with you guys. So glad we had everyone on here at the end, and it wasn't that
Aw.
Yeah, it wasn't that crazy considering.
crazy.
Yeah.
Very long though. That's fine.
This podcast didn't go off the rails.
I think for most people, this was an infinite podcast because they'll never reach the ending, so that's fine.
Oh no,
We've had longer.
that's true.
At some point, yeah.
Yeah.
When's Infinity Train D&D coming? That'll be longer.
you have to get back to Ruby D&D first.
Yeah, Ruby
You
first.
didn't get back to you. You have to send the invite. You know,
Never mind. Let's not have this argument right now.
We
We
have
can
to,
all
yeah,
be people on the train. Oh,
I call Water Blob Man.
I called
Randall?
it.
Okay,
You
we,
did
don't,
this,
we could be
Dylan.
we could be
You did
OCs though. We could be OCs. Okay, there you
No,
go.
gonna
it's
be
not as
me,
fun.
but on the train.
Who's Tulip?
I'm glad, Dylan, that if we do Infinity Train D&D, like my job would just be to somehow make infinite ideas for cars because you would just
That's
run
true.
through every. You would just
Yeah.
run through every single one of them.
I roll to sprint through 10 cars in a
Yeah,
row and
yeah,
see
do
what
that
they
with
are.
all 10 of them are.
It's okay. Okay.
Fail
th-
the train.
When did
Thank you
Tulip
guys
Naruto
for
run?
look. Stay tuned for Infinity Train D&D. That's coming soon.
I
That's a
hate you.
guarantee. Thank you guys for sarcastic, by the way. Thank you for listening to our Infinity Train podcast. Let us know what you thought of our discussion on the finale. All of the podcasts at overlyanimated.com. If you want to write to us about what you thought, email link is there. You could leave YouTube comments, youtube.com/overlyanimated. Come talk with us personally at our Discord. We're hanging out there at overlyanimated.com/Discord. And if you enjoyed this, please consider supporting us. We can do more coverage like this at patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thanks to our current patrons, especially our patron of the podcast, Kent, aka Kent Brockman. And thanks as always to our patron executive producers, Ryan, Steve, Alex, Beatrice, Hugh, Michael, and Needle. check out a bunch of other stuff that's going on. We'll see if we have more Infinity Train podcasts in the future. The finale revisited, more intense debate and arguing over the meaning of the finale. That's coming soon. Yeah, that'll probably happen.
6 hours of Infinity Train finale coverage.
Oh boy.
That would, I mean, yeah, that's what we used to do with the core and stuff. I don't know. I think it's deserving of the extended finale treatment. So we'll see.
We could probably do another 2 hours easily.
We could, yeah.
Just me and Michelle. Michelle does want to talk to me about things, apparently.
Just record that. And just have a personal conversation. Record it. We'll stick it up as a bonus podcast. That's fine. That's how podcasts, right? It's our recorded personal conversations.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Philosophy 102.
What?
Well, because it'll be like a philosophy class if we just hear Michelle and Sarah talking.
Oh my god.
More good place
that's
stuff.
very flattering.
I take notes.
Okay. Thank you guys for listening to our philosophy discussion and other things, and all our. I don't know what else we discussed. It's okay. That's the end. Thanks, guys, for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Closing the doors. Bye.